Stack that bitch up, Mike.
Yeah, truth can't be told, it gotta be realized. The truth can't be told, it gotta be realized. Freedom ain't free, it ain't legalized. Can't be told, it gotta be realized. Freedom ain't free, it ain't realized. Freedom ain't free, it ain't realized. Freedom ain't legalized. Realize. Freedom ain't free, it ain't legalized. Realize. Freedom ain't free, it ain't legalized. Realize. Yeah. Slavery was a long time ago. How? Same motherfuckers still here right now. Colonized on our land, they ahead of us. Changed our name so much, they scared of us. Children of the sun, y'all don't compare to us. Pale-faced people, this ain't y'all area. Talking about America, pale-faced people, this ain't y'all area. Even up the playing field, bitch, I'm darn. How you a victim, bitch, you a Karen. Cognitive dissonance, you don't need sparing. You got white privilege, so you don't need sparing. Looking at my homeland, man, I can't believe her. Colonized came here, they ain't never leave her. Indians ain't die off cause we here. You ain't gotta lie, just say you won't be here. How you American but not indigenous? 400 years still ain't get rid of us. All Europeans, naturalized citizens, made all the Indians niggas on the census. 1492, we was on the fences. Civil rights movement, we was so defensive. Black Wall Street, whites got so offended. Common law rights, gave us amendments. Think I don't speak truth, that's alright. First slave 1619 was all white. 1200 wasn't no continent, all white. Europe named after a black woman, alright. Grafted, it come from us, do your research. Go within, quit listening to teachers. And the Nuki got voice coming out the speaker. Cut off trees that made us weaker. Really they foreigner, the shit gets deeper. Whites don't know where whites come from either. I'm Aboriginal, we come from the ether. Ruling over us in our land, that's evil. Being colonized right now, black people. Prisoner of the war, that's why it ain't equal. Wake up everybody, don't be no sheeple. Freedom ain't free, really freedom is illegal. And we can't get mad at this. Whites act like we can't see their advantages. Privileges real, they working in management. Low down dirty, but they calling us savage. They want you to think they above us. All white people are part-time judges. I ain't no racist, but I ain't no sucker. I ain't no African, but they my brothers. Been lied to, I got built up anger. We built everything, still waiting on the savior. Don't call yourself black, please do me that favor. Black tourmaline will protect you from a hater. Listening to your oppressors is dangerous. Gave us a Bible and stole our nation. Said we couldn't read, but we didn't know the language. Kept us on paper because we didn't see the danger. American Indian, keep the religion. Skin copper color look just like a penny. Wanted our land and you called us stingy. Ain't no Democrats there together, pay attention. We got ancestors, but the papers is missing. Kings and queens, we just can't remember. Remember who you are, just like Simba. Now they got our backs, we don't want that in us. George Washington is the ninth president, look it up. United States, only 10 square blocks, look it up. White people really the minorities, look it up. Courtrooms don't got authorities, look it up. You want me, say stop governing me. Gave me a straw man, it's really not me. Why you don't keep it 100 with me? Why Trayvon killers still walk around free? Made this song for the truth, don't hate it. History was told in reverse, I stated. Still still oppressed, somebody gotta say it. I'm taking out of school, that's the reason I made it. History is his story. History is his story. History is his story. History is his story. It ain't my story. History is his story. Probably ain't your story. History is his story. It's his story.
Check out this verbo.
Oh, man. Michael, they're your cousins.
Look at me.
Niggas died 1865.
Yeah. Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up.
On the track.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single Michael fled, how I ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hollering black was never on your side. They too mad to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man's zone. And I ain't talking shit, this my definition. If being savage was our nation, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy fake. Only way that shit real is if you do what they say. We the guards to the gate. So when they say they fear God, now you know what they made.
shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down. Hit a nigga with that boom, he gon' go down. Shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down. Hit a nigga with that boom, he gon' go down.
Every day my niggas dying, they don't know the truth. How the hell you close to God, we don't know it's you. Yo, how the hell you supposed to survive, we don't know the shoot. He should've died, you let him slide, cause he look just like you. I tried to tell him all skin ain't kin. Everybody ain't your partner, everybody ain't your friend. How the hell they supposed to help when they the ones that put you in? They don't struggle how we struggle, they can't get it how we live. Can't be scared to die when we already dead. Either way, your life is stake no matter how you play it. My higher self said we should choose remain godly. My lower want these motherfucking bodies. Infiltrate they circles like a motherfucking Audi. Take them to the south and put them down like OG Bobby. They don't want equality in this club, they want these problems. Killers right beside me, slab full of chicken mockers.
Shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down. Hit a nigga with that boom, he gon' go down. Shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down. Hit a nigga with that boom, he gon' go down.
Yeah. Threads 3000. You out of pocket, 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 pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket.
Hey, hang yourself.
Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. Yeah, you out of pocket, 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 you out of pocket.
Hey, hang yourself.
Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. Check yourself. I'ma just do the race myself. Even when I sneeze, I bless myself. I'ma get through the rest by myself. Go to the Nike store and check yourself. Talking to the police, arrest yourself. Hate is a disease, test yourself. Suicide yourself, X yourself. Don't find me, find yourself. Niggas be getting beside themselves. Please get lost, nigga, hide yourself. Spend all summer long by yourself. Kill yourself, outline yourself. Being solid as me, remind yourself. Monkey ass nigga, climb yourself. Transform Optimus Prime yourself. Bird box gone unblind yourself. Got spend all day time yourself. Whine yourself, dine yourself. Bitch ass nigga, flat on yourself. The way you move, retire yourself. Find you a flunky and hire yourself. Worried about me, admire yourself. You a pretty good goddamn lie yourself. Focus on you, desire yourself. Loose shit's line, empire yourself. Stop hating every day and inspire yourself. Got 21 questions, wire yourself. Hate my style, get fly yourself. If it ain't working out, then fire yourself. Might as well rich or prior yourself. I'm laughing at you, you proud of yourself. You out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. You out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket.
Hey, hang yourself.
Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. You out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket.
Hey, hang yourself.
Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of
Fuck
pocket.
nigga, catch amnesia. Play the victim when they don't need you. Just cut they water like the water people. Cold hustlers, no you can't feed them. Need a handout for every reason. Bills late for every reason. Hit my trap phone for a few zones. Now you gotta play, nigga, I'm the reason. If you owe a nigga, then you out of pocket. Pay your debt, keep your name silent. Can't get a bag on cuss salmon without a piece of shake. It was all solid. Run off without a profit. Run you down with a pocket rocket. Them dirty hoes, they be out of pocket on Instagram, straight pocket watching. Greasy bitches all made up. Ass and titties been nipped tucked. Eyelashes can't trick us, and that last surgery looks silly. Sus, bald headed hoe shit out of pocket. Rent late, but your nails proper. Pussy stink, girl, please stop it. When the last time you went and seen a doctor?
You out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. You out of pocket, you out of pocket. You out of pocket.
Hey, hang yourself.
Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. You out of pocket, you out of pocket, you out of pocket.
Hey, hang yourself.
Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket. Yeah, you out of pocket, you out of pocket.
What's up, my beautiful book-loving brethren? We're Trash Taste, and we're here to introduce to you Bookwalker. What's that?
Hey, yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Yo, we got homie on.
Nigga flow so sick, hit rewind. Little bit, call my phone, hit decline. Nigga want me to phone, but tell him keep trying. Been ballin' on niggas, I done retired.
Yeah, one time, turn the beat down. Let a nigga go crazy, see now. Feel like got it back, had to retry. Bitch sour and shit, had to remind.
Excuse me, it's Big Dog, straight drop. Yeah, out white, mayo. Everything good as a 10-4.
Pour up some drink, roll up some ganja. I'm about to blow like a motherfucking roster. Big dog status, you know I ain't flogging. Go in the way that I want, I ain't bothered.
Yellow bone women feeling like a martyr. She wanna kick it, she my no karate. I just want head, I don't want nobody. Might take a nigga, bitch, that's a rob.
That whole back, stop it, nigga. Ain't no motherfucking option, nigga. Oh, I got your little hoe up on my side like a motherfucking option, nigga.
Big black nigga, my persona. Yes, I'm guilty, Your Honor. Of killing these niggas and fucking these bitches. Yes, I admit to the charges.
ABR be the mafia. Tell them ain't nobody stopping us. Lot of sucker niggas wanna copy us. Still dripping on the floor, you can mop it.
Let me pop my shit. Niggas be killing me. Gotta swap my shit. Niggas watch my shit. Since you niggas stealing, well, let me lock my shit. Let me stop my shit. Yeah, I'm from the bottom, but that don't stop not shit. Bitch, I'm an underdog. I mean, underhog. Still, nothing top my shit. Bitch, I'm the truth. And I showed you over and over again. This shit ain't no fluke. This is the proof. I set the bar in this bitch, and I'ma raise it like the roof. They counting me out. Yeah, they gotta be tripping. I don't know shit about a dish. Subtracting myself from anything bullshitting. I move forward, expedition. Since I do music, now I gotta move different. Be damn, I move without a tools. And rappers is dangerous, and I just can't be caught slipping. Be damn, I let a nigga do me. I ain't no killer, but I ain't never scared to shoot it. Don't run up on me like a groupie. We got some beef, nigga shells come included. This won't be a Taco Tuesday.
Peace and paradise to all the American Aborigines. Supreme Chief Holidays in the building. I want to say greetings to everybody, man. Shout out to the DJ. Y'all big homie, the one and only. Task Code, the CEO. Hey, man, music had me up at jigging too, man. I was definitely enjoying the tunes, y'all. It gets if y'all see me over here, man, my locks flying everywhere, man. I'm jigging, man. You know what I'm saying? So I was gonna shout out to everybody, man, up there getting y'all started, man. You know, we come here to drop some great information. Just a quick drive-by, man. My brother, Big Aboriginal Power, you guys can see the Wake and Bake this morning. He's gonna be coming in at 8 Eastern tonight, man. So we're just gonna have a quick little something, man, that I want to do earlier. You know what I mean? So, but we're just gonna get this in, as I think it's very important. So without further ado, whatever, I'm gonna say shout out to everybody in the building. I just start from the bottom. See Empress Freedom Feather in the building, Greedy Vegan, Empress Goddess Namaste, Tavern 3772, Copper Goddess, Ricardo D, Chief Crazy Overstanding, Blue Era Grassroots, Peace Dirty, Big Chief, Fuck You Crackers, Sagittarius Jones, David Bell, Anthony L. Pickens Jr., Copper Color Nation, Brandon Rogers, Sean Peter, Aborigine, Eastside 1415, E-Not 0407, A.B. Truth Over Everything. I want to say peace to the guys, man. Thank you guys for tapping in, man. We truly do, man. I just want you guys to know, man, you tuned in to the greatest of all motherfucking time. It's your Sahab, man. That's what we do, man. That's why we do this over here, man. But once again, you guys see the FAA. I'm gonna put this back up real fast. What that's at? And a lot of times, man, shout out to all the brothers and sisters that identify as foundational Black Americans. I think it's our duties. Oh, you guys. I thought it was our duty to reach out to all our brothers and sisters, especially that are reaching, and talking about lineage, they talking about being from here and stuff like that or whatever. And I know a lot of division and stuff is happening, but once again, with a lot of chaos, once again, there should be an end game to it, coming together, building even locally, even within your families. You know what I'm saying? So this information should be getting to your family members. And most of our family members are not on board with this. And that's just being honest. Everybody should be honest with that and stop being like, oh, you goddamn family members are Indians. When you niggas just became Indians 6 months ago, 2 years ago, even 4 years ago, that doesn't matter. You didn't grow up in the culture. Some people did, you know what I'm saying? But even that, you still went and got miseducated. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, just to come up with, like I said, just the premise of everything. There's dates and times, you guys. They act like they like motherfuckers just make shit up, like or just start placing stuff back in time periods. Once again, when they're writing something for you, and they're talking about the 16, 17, even 18, the 1900s, a lot of times it's written in today's times, articles of today or whatever. So they're giving you terminologies of today. The reason why etymology is important, when they wasn't using words and terminologies. Like, I'm gonna give you a perfect one. So when you guys hear these terminologies, you're like, well, okay, well, that doesn't sound right. So when they talk about African Americans, so you're gonna hear a lot of that, right? In these articles that we're gonna read. You're gonna hear a lot of that in the videos. You're gonna hear it, African American. You're gonna hear Native American, right? Once again, you have to have discernment on what they're talking about. You have to have discernment on what they're talking about. When you're reading something, who's wrote it? Why are they reading it? Who's their editors? What are their agendas? Things of that nature, whatever, right? And what you're supposed to be doing is eating the meat, spitting out the bones, not hook, line, and sinker, they jump on the hook just like a little baby minnow. You know what I'm saying? No, you're supposed to, and then cross-reference everything that you get. So any information that you get from anybody, unless you just, you find people that you trust the most and you just believe them. Cool, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Testing. Hope this mic's still working, guys. Yeah, press go if you guys can hear me good. Press go. Appreciate everybody, man. 700 people came in. Charles Clark, Peace King. Mrs. Elizabeth Young in the building. Peace Empress. Bright Mo DZ. King DZ in the building. Mr. CD. Peace to the guy, man. Jan, Peace King. What you got in here, man? Shout out to everybody, man. Tapped in, man. I see Grateful up in there. Big up, vibes up, hearts up. That's what's up, man. Hearts up. So we talking about Jared White. Peace. Welcome to all the new people, man, coming into this information, man. We definitely appreciate you guys. Once again, it's all about etymology. If it's some things that you hear that's not to your liking, what you should do is you should do research just to debunk it. And while you're doing that, if you find things that you along the way, that should enrich you to even enhance your way of thinking, because you have been indoctrinized, and they use words to indoctrinize you as well as to continue to terrorize you, to intimidate you, to push fear, all the things that they do. This is the things that's happening to you. Shout out to Big Dog Philly OG in the building. M Stowers is in the building. Peace of the guys, man. Appreciate you guys, man. Don't miss nobody. Smoke God. Peace King. Juan Torres is in the building. That's what's up, you guys. So when we hear these terms, right, just remember, and then once again, they also writing black back in terms. So when you hear these terms, you got to say, okay, well, were they talking black then? Well, they were using other descriptive terms like Negro. They were even using Ethiopia, right? Now, a lot of times, a lot of people say, well, who was the founder, right, of the Pan-African movement, things of that nature, whatever, right? Now, when they say the father of Pan-Africanism was Edward Woodmont Blyden. Now, Edward Woodmont Blyden that has never called himself a Pan-African. But what he did say that Ethiopianism, right? He talked about basically people of color banding together. I get it. But he didn't say Pan-Africanism. He didn't say African. He said Ethiopianism. Now, at this particular time, the country of Ethiopia did not exist. So y'all got to keep that in the back of your mind. They were speaking a Latin term, Ethiopian, denoting dark people, okay? Dark culture. Not like the Ethiopian Sea, the Atlantic Ocean used to be called the Ethiopian Sea. See how that worked? Denoting, in my terminology, the dark trade that was going on between the continents, the intercontinental trading and conquering that was happening, between these continents, right? So once again, other people come through and they change maps, they change things, and they take ownership of these things when they change the name. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind, you guys. I want to get right into the video because, like I said, we don't have that much time. Get right into the video. We got Dr. Jose Pimento. And like I said, you guys hear stuff, eat the meat, spit out the bones. We're going to come back on the other side of it. If we have to stop, we'll stop. I'm trying not to stop you guys. Come back on the other side of it, and we'll talk about it. Like a few other things to present. Like I said, we can get right into we'll go over to AP, 8 Eastern. So I'm going to say shout out to everybody, man. Thank you guys for tapping in. Hey, do us a favor, like, share, subscribe on all your major platforms. Like I said, we appreciate it too. And tag me in it. On Twitter, man, Supreme_. Chief, I think it is. I don't know. Put in the chat room. Shout out to everybody, man. We appreciate it, man. Let's get right into this backup channel. What up, Lucky? 2 sticks. The realest nigga alive is in the building. Hey, man, press go if you truly descend from the greatest human beings in world history. It's your Sahab, man. Hey, man, I come in peace. I really do. And I'm not trying to. So we're going to have like I said, this is going right in. We're going to get into some information today, you guys. And AP going to be coming in with some information later on, man. And hey, let's just get right to it, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Like I said, like, share, subscribe. Hey, support the real. Let's go. They also fuck fair use too.
If we want to speak about, the collective power of Black people, well, what are you talking about? Do you mean the collective power of African people? You mean Pan-Africanism or Pan? Then say African. I don't understand why people are so wedded to the term Black. And the justification for it is, well, it's because the European made it negative. It's the Europeans' word. It was negative before it was applied to African people. It's like they're getting it backwards. It isn't that Europeans said, we're going to make this word Black negative in order to accommodate our desire to devalue African people or dark complexioned Asian people or dark complexioned Native Americans. That's not how it worked. The word Black, right, absence of light, if you will, was supposed to be understood by any English speaker as largely negative before it was applied to people of African or Asian ancestry.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining our conversation on
Dr. Akbar, the prominent African-American psychologist, often talks about one of our issues is that we have become, we meaning people of the African world, whether it's the continent or more especially within the diaspora, so-called black folks, are very reactive rather than proactive, which means that if this individual is calling himself white, we're going to react and call ourselves black because we're the opposite. Not really understanding that we're not exactly taking a step in the right direction, because now, as I like to say, given all the linguistic and cultural baggage of black, you are trying to push an elephant uphill on roller skates. You're trying to turn a negative into a positive when there's a clean, pure stream nearby to draw from. If you're referring to complexion, in fact, there's a famous scene in the movie Cry Freedom about the life of Steve Biko. The presumption is that this event actually occurred. If it didn't, it still made sense in terms of the screenwriters and Richard Attenborough putting it into the film. And that is, Steve Biko was in court. He's charged with basically, being seen as a threat to the apartheid system, and he was banned. So he's in court talking to the European judge, the Boer British judge, and the judge says to him,
"Why call yourselves black? I mean, you people are more brown than black."
And Biko says,
"Why do you call yourselves white? You people are more pink than white."
And the judge goes,
"Precisely."
But there's no deeper unpacking of what just occurred. And it raises an important question about systems of oppression. Why did Europeans decide to designate themselves as white? More specifically, English-speaking Europeans, because the term white is an English term. When you know why they chose the term, then you know what they sought to gain by it. When you also see that they leveled the term black against us, Asiatics, Africans, Asians, then you know what they sought to gain by imposing that on us. But why the need to fixate on black? There's the work of a Harvard psychologist who I believe is of East Indian ancestry. Her name is Dr. Banerjee. And her work on looking at the implicit association test, which is used by psychologists to look at implied bias or biases that exist. She recognizes what are often called mind bug, or in fact, she's calling the term mind bugs, which are culturally imposed perceptions of reality. And the dominant perception of reality for those of us who speak the English language is when you say black or use black, its dominant use is negative. Black magic, black night, black death, right? And to try to overcome that is very difficult. Now, this is a Harvard faculty member, psychologist, prominent psychologist, who's pointing this out, and she calls them the mind bugs. Now, part of what people can do, you could say, well, you need to get people to stop thinking of black as something negative. Okay, that's all right, but in the context of, do you want to fight that battle, or more importantly, should you be fighting that battle? Because you're still reducing yourself again to your pigment. And you're not looking at yourself in the context of a larger history. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to speak of we as highly melanated people, or we as NUC, or we as I would say, people of predominant African ancestry, that makes more sense to me. I'm just saying. So when I looked at what Drew Ali was trying to convey, and did convey, obviously, to those who heard what he was saying, back in the early teens and 1920s in particular, that you are not Black, you are not Negro, you are not colored. Just on a psychological level, I can see the value. I haven't even gotten into what the value and importance of what he was saying by having folks reject calling themselves Negro, Black, or colored, because that's a whole nother issue. I just got into the psychology of it, right? That's why people, confuse. I've often thought of this. You have a child reading about the Black Knight and the Black Death and the Black Plague, and then the child goes, oh, and I'm a Black child. What Benaji and others, Eric Heyman, who's another social psychologist who's talked about this issue of implicit bias and its roots not in the individual mind. Part of the perspective on this is many psychologists are now trying to figure out why is it that police tend to shoot quote unquote Black men at the rates that they do. And is it because the individual police officer is overtly racist? And what some of this psychology is now suggesting is it may not be a sense of overt racism, but rather the culturally imposed racism, what people used to call national character, how nations see themselves as a result of their particular histories and experiences. So, like I said, Drew Ali, just in terms of saying you're not Negro, Black, and colored, was getting people out from under that weight of the negativity associated with Blackness. And for people who say, well, it's better, the same person would not allow you to call him a Negro. But with all due respect, Negro is the same thing as Black. If I'm speaking Spanish, it's Negro. I'm going to call you Negro, right? So it doesn't make any sense. Yet, again, more is a reference to a people, to an empire that covered a geographical location. The Moorish Empire at one time was...
The gang leader, formerly known as A-Train, continues to maintain his innocence despite insurmountable evidence against him.
This man may be a lot of things, but I'm telling you, he's not a liar.
Better be right about this, Monty. I just need to ask you one question. Did you rob that convenience store and kill that little girl and that cashier?
You already died.
I should be out there.
You are right where you need to be to hear from God. Don't allow your past to
From the northwestern part of the Maghreb or North Africa, all the way down to the Senegal River and as far east as the border of Egypt. That's part of what, and I'm just talking about what we know as the recognized Moorish Empire in terms of international and diplomatic history and relations. So we can say that covers a wide swath of the African continent. That would include Africans of various hues, people who would be darker in complexion and others who'd be lighter in complexion. And the primary sources from Duarte, Portuguese travelers, and Azrara and English sources all affirm that the term Moor was used for people of African ancestry. Later, the term Blackamoor is introduced, but it's part of the development of the kind of pigmentocracy direction that exists. Within the English language, just as in other languages, there are different ways to translate something more accurately. So, and one of the examples I've often used is the difference in Spanish. If you're speaking of knowing someone versus knowing something, you don't use the same verb. Conocer and saber is not the same thing, right? One means to know a person, one means to know about something. By the same token, if you translate more to simply mean black, knowing that black in the English language is affiliated with so much negativity, long before it was ever referenced for people of African, or I dare say Indian ancestry, because a lot of people seem to be under the impression that Black was only used to refer to people of Africa, and that's not true. Black was, and in some cases, is still used to refer to people of Asia by Europeans. My first trip to England, and I was talking to people from Indonesia and Pakistan and Cambodia and different parts of Southeast Asia. And they were bringing to my attention how you can read articles in the paper, and this is in the early 90s, where they would talk about a Black person doing something. Usually it might have been affiliated with some criminal act, unfortunately, which was part of their point at the time. But they were saying that the term was used to encompass them. And there was a debate between the younger generation of these people from Southeast Asia saying, well, we'll use the word Black. I mean, people in the Americas have a Black pride movement, and you know, there was Black consciousness in South Africa. And then there were those who were elders who were averse to it. They didn't like it because they said, you don't want to be encapsulated simply in a color, because now the emphasis is simply on your color and not on your culture. So they said, well, they saw the value of, meaning the young people saw the value of trying to use a new hip kind of term, if you will. But the elders said no, because what that's doing is reducing your value, because in the English language, Black is largely associated with a bunch of negativity. And just like Richard B. Moore said in his book from the 60s, the term or the word Negro, its origin and evil use, he made the same argument. Why you shouldn't use the term Negro? Well, guess what? Negro is Spanish for Black. So folks went from Negro in Espanol to Black in English, but it's still the same thing. And I literally mean thing. So defining yourself by an ethnicity or a nationality clearly would make more sense. And when the late, great political scientist Ali Mazrui, who was known for doing a series back in the 80s on Africa, he was Kenyan born. He actually said,
you ever wondered what actors and actresses do when they have to get in shape really fast for a movie? Because I can promise you, it's not.
Black people are the only group in the United States that is designated racially as opposed to geographically, right? Or nationally. And this is part of the problem, right? You have, and that's why I've said to people all the time, why don't we speak of yellow Americans, right? If we're going to use the color nomenclature, use it across the board. Just use it all the time. But if someone will say, well, I'm Irish, I'm German, I'm Black, and they're running through their lineage, and I'm going, all right, Germans come from Germany, the Irish come from Ireland. Black, what is that? At least, well, I don't, because we don't know where we're from. You can at least say Africa. At least say Africa, right? At least say African. I know I have some African answers. And now in this day and age, you can even do an Ancestry.com test, and they can tell you, right, what part of Africa, what ethnic group or nation or so-called tribe one is from, right? So the value of not identifying with Black is it compels you to be more specific in identifying culture, knowing your geographic origin, knowing your history.
Don't worry, you don't need to memorize everything from this chapter. You can click on the link in the description below and download the study notes for this chapter for free. Using the exact notes from this video will definitely elevate your own studies.
Man, now what's interesting, shout out to Dr. Pimento Bay. Once again, it's talking about nationality. Why was it important for these people to translate things, right? So here, think about it from this perspective, right? We talk about the word maroon, right? And they had air quote maroons as well as maroon cities, not only in the Caribbean islands, but also in the Americas, all the way from Florida all the way to Canada, right? Maroon, they like to say colonies, but if we already here, who like don't once again when they put colonies on something or whatever, it's inferring that somebody colonized it. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna talk about that too when we talk about colonization. And we're talking about the folly of colonization with Frederick Douglass in 1894. Right now, these dates are very important when we're talking about just fact checking things, or just how do we get to this point right now when we're talking about the first of Black Americans, right? Now, once again, they're writing terminologies and putting them back in time, or even saying, okay, well, there's Negro, then we're going to change the terminology to Black, right? Once the British came in. So going back to maroon, maroon means brown to the Spanish. That's what they would definition of the descriptive term. We're talking about maroon colonies, right? So remember, first contact with the Europeans, according to them, right, was the Europeans of them colonizing was the late 1500s. Not the early 1500s, the late 1500s. We're gonna get into that, and the reason why this is important because a lot of times they just because they say, "Oh, Christopher Columbus," and we debunk that, supposedly came at a certain time in 1492. They wasn't colonizing in 1492. Remember, he supposedly took people and left. They didn't colonize in 1492. So we're talking about just people look at contact as if that's colonization. You know what I'm saying? So we got to talk about that as far as in a historical context. We assume that colonization started. One second, y'all. So they tell the story. It's about the narrative that's painted. You know what I'm saying? And the words that they're using. So when we talk about maroon, so once the British came in, they turned maroon into runaway slaves, right? Which ended up being cimarron, which is another descriptive term of the skin tone of the people and the culture of the people, whatever. Then to Seminole, right? Another terminology. Once again, just like Washita to Washita to Washington. By the time it gets to Washington, they own that trademark. They own it. They own the narrative or whatever. And also, once again, we're going to be pulling up some documentation from the National Archives, right? Now, once again, we've already just shared that the National Archive has been burnt down several times. When they come back, it's a different administration that puts a different agenda, right? Different people who have their agendas that they put into the archives to push a certain educational format, right? So once again, we got to talk about that. Before we get into that, I just want to get this. I want to pull up this Black Codes, man, Trey Ali. Before we get into this next part of this right here, it's gonna all make sense. What we're talking about and why this is important. When they started to miseducate us. In order for us to reverse engineer this, we got to know where it happened at. It didn't happen a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? It's really interesting that, and like even in our minds, they tell you that this amazing slavery happened. This amazing slavery happened, right? As if they colonized Africa you know what I'm saying, in the 1400s as well, right? Just because you have contact with somebody don't mean you colonized them. You wouldn't, hey, how y'all doing? We didn't, you came back home to be able to tell a story about it. But for the most part, Slavic descent people were slaves, like to the world. Like that's just that's the history of the world. So when we talk about the colonization of America, right, and the folly of the colonization of America and the European perspective and them coming here and setting up businesses and being allowed to live amongst us, right, and participating in an American way, right, but still having allegiances and loyalties to their country. So we're going to talk about that on the side of this right here. Once again, why this makes sense, why you can identify as black, but as they say right there, that takes you away from your culture. Because when we talk about culture, black culture is, when we talk about black American culture, is American culture. There's no culture, there's no culture without our culture. We're the cowboys, we're the Indians, everything. We're the inventors. This is American cultures. Americans, when we talk about civilization, we got a couple of other announcements we're gonna make too. See what you guys think about it. A few things you haven't heard yet. So yeah, let's just get right into this, man. It's the infamous Trey Ali, man. Black Codes, man. We'll be right back. Let's go. Press go.
Yeah, rhyme so dope, my eyes low. When you move like God, the time slow. I came back for the blacks and John Doe's. Crack open them land patents, let go of them town homes. What's a native to a native? He $5 dough if he not melanated. Pale faces got you waiting on a savior. Sending prayers up, he texting back on vacation. Yeah, God's children. Give all your praise to Jesus, but how God feeling? He say put no one before him in divine image. It's you with God and Christians. I got a vision, but niggas ain't gotta listen, so they don't. We came from the soil, wasn't fucking with no boats. Bible took our spirit, English potted on our homes. Tribal families turn on us, don't act like y'all don't know. But fuck them and they grudges. We was something turned to nothing. And now we let this turn to something. Reincarnation of ancients, fresh up out the oven. This the message to the black man. 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 Shooters on my roof, lawyers in the coop. We can never die, bitch, we bulletproof. This the message to the black man. This the message to the black man. Say you wasn't slaves, you was prisoners of war. You stop wasting your time, these other bitches ain't important. You ain't meditating, you ain't mating with the sauce. Like what the fuck's a noodle if you ain't painted with the sauce? I find it hard to trust the pastor who rather side with the master, who preaching we should submit while getting murdered and captured. About how we should wait on God, it's never our vernacular. They get paid and praised by the dollar long as they keeping us stagnant. And niggas think they woke, huh? Like you could change a whole world through a boat, huh? Like slave masters willing to let their slave go, huh? That slave master was probably your kinfolk, huh? History in reverse, a black king strategy. When blacks were your majesty, they always hide your pyramids but point to where the castles be. Aristocracies with your last name patent accurately. Yeah. And I ain't even tell half the shit. Like, I ain't even tell a quarter of the shit. I'm just getting started. Y'all niggas rap about busting guns and all this weird shit. I'm trying to get my people back, nigga.
That's right. Shout out to the infamous Trey Ali. Hey man, so I want to pull up this like this how my brain work, you guys, you know. So I'd be like, well, man, who was the first black, you know what I'm saying, in America, right? And that's how my brain work, right? So, you know, when you put that in, like, who would the first person that would identify themselves as black? And you know what I'm saying? And so it was interesting, you know, a lot of you know, when we talk about how black is not, and we get into the etymology of it, and people say, well, it started out bleach and all this other stuff, whatever, right? But it just seems like not to take hold. So we got to kind of see how things legally and how they started to educate us into this system of inferiority. You know what I'm saying? But this is a caste system. We understand that. I know we say that a lot. That doesn't seem to take hold either as well. So we're gonna try another angle, you guys. You know, as far as that. So let's say, you know, in my world, I say, well, who was the first person to consider themselves black? And then it open up a few other things that, you know, and I want to share it with you guys. So that's why I just thought I wanted to do this, just, you know, before AP come on, you guys. So yeah, let's pull that up. And it gives you a list of, you know, it says black, right? But once again, I don't want to spoil it because I want to talk about it. And as well, you know, once again, I can go back into the video. The video is kind of self-explanatory, how identifying yourself as black, and because there's white, you can't have one without the other. You know what I mean? And in this system, how it hurts you. You know what I mean? So let's get into this right here. It says a list of African American first. Now, just right there, just in the title, somebody would say, here, see right here, we're African Americans. But once again, if you guys don't pay attention, there's a thing called etymology and time. So just for understanding, you know, that African American wasn't a term until the 80s. You follow me? So just the 80s. Think about the 80s. It's the 1980s, late 80s going into the 90s. All right, African American is a term, but we know that's a social construct. Okay, African American is a social construct. Late 1980s going into the 1990s. Okay, it's not even on any documentation. When we go back into microfiche, we go back into looking at newspaper clippings, which is a snapshot in time, what people were saying all over the country, how they would identify themselves, how they would identify other people, all these things, right? We got tape of Dr. Martin Luther King, everything, you know, considering themselves Gandhi, even to the UNINA with the great Marcus Garvey, you know what I'm saying? And the UNIA, they said Negro. They was like, we're going to put this in the title, Negro, you know what I'm saying? Not African, not black, Negro, right? Now, what makes that important is because, of course, they will have the Spanish influence coming from the Caribbean islands, right? But once again, this is advanced teaching when we talk about Latin being from here and Spanish, French, and Portuguese, as well as the language that we're speaking now, is indigenous to this land. You know, it gets really interesting, right? How they could change that, you know what I'm saying, and then create the books and the things. And we're gonna get into that, how that happened right here today, right now. You know, I'm just gonna do this real quick. You guys are gonna drive right by. So if it's really rushed, we have some breadcrumbs to go to after this. Let's go. So this says a list of African Americans. Once again, it's not African Americans first, because it said African Americans, blow this up a little, you guys, are an ethnic group in the United States, right? The first achievements by African Americans in diverse fields have historically marked footholds, often leading to more widespread cultural change, right? The shorthand phrase for this is breaking the color barrier, right? One commonly cited example is that Jackie Robinson, who became the first African American of the modern era to become a Major League Baseball player in 1947, right? Ending 60 years of segregation, Negro Leagues, right? Now what is interesting, right, when we talk about, now we're going to get to some dates, right, which is important, right? So when we talk about the Negro League, right, so the Negro League was from 1920, right, to 1950. Okay, which is very important in this time period because it wasn't called the African American League, right? So Jackie Robinson wouldn't have considered himself in 1947 African American. But once again, they're writing this back because we once again, this comes from these guys, right? When we talk about the National Archive, we talk about what is Wikipedia, any of their writers, whatever, they're still coming from them and their mindset and the words that they choose to use, that they use to push the narrative in the direction that it needs to be, right? Now, the reason why we get into the science and all these other things or whatever, why that's important, because all this stuff still ties down back to it, period. What you call yourself, why you call yourself that, and how they can justify, why we do it, because this fake DNA says that you all come from Africa. Shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So I got to. I'm trying to keep this like about the babies, man. Shout out to all the babies out there, but edit it out, you guys. Just edit it out. So you gotta do is edit it out for kids. Right? But it just really burns me up because we allow them to tell us about Jim Crow as if Jim Crow was slave time, for instance. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna get into that as you guys are gonna see in a second. Let's click on this 17th century, right? Which is the 1600s, 1670s, right? So then what they have right here. So let's click on this, right? Which is interesting, right? Because once again, African American didn't exist, right? So it says the first African American to own land in Boston, Sephora Potter Atkins. Let's just click on this fella real fast and see what he's talking about. July 4th, 1645. He died in 1705, right? Was a free American woman who owned land in the colonial Boston during a time when few women or Americans owned land in the American colonies. Now that's really interesting right there. And the reason why I'm taking African out of there, whatever, because they love to, once again, African American didn't exist. So Americans exist at that time, right? In the 1670s, right? So if they're describing her as an African American, right? And we know if she had a passport, it would only have American on it, just like you guys are described as African Americans. But now that you have a passport, when you travel, it's only gonna have American on there. Y'all see how that works? So if this person right here who is an American, it's not only for a woman to own land, but just Americans in general own the land. You know what I'm saying? So there's really big, you know what I'm saying, right here, you guys. So says the purchase of her home dated 1670 makes her the first American to own land in the city of Boston, and with Anthony Johnson, one of the earliest American landowners in what would become the United States. Now, shout out to A1. Piece of Hanu when he did the Ellisons. You guys know about the Ellisons. You guys even see Skip Gates, him go in there and talk to the Ellisons as if they're the ones that are there now. They're the Ellisons, but they're the pale skins, right? And it's interesting they got the name and the land, right? Think about that. But we know that the pale skins are not the original people here. So that only leads you to believe that when we talk about William Ellison was the largest landowner, and then as well as slave, when we talk about slave being changed to or being synonymous with family. So being enslaved is only being a family member, generational wealth. So they abolished our generational wealth system here, which was the wealthiest system on the planet, period. That's why America's the greatest. We're not the youngest. That's the bullshit they like to tell you. You know what I'm saying? We're a confederation of powerful dynasties here in the Americas. So North America being the crown, that's us. You know what I'm saying? We're the jewels of this thing. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, once again, that's why we say we are the greatest of all time. You guys can respect it to check it. And we always put the information out there. We always put the link out there for all you naysayers globally. This is not for whoever you're talking about. So we just want to let you guys know that. So I want to get back to a few more things, though. Just what's important about This right here, when they talk about Anthony Johnson being the first slave owner, right? Now, even with that story with John Kazar suing him and two other pale skins who didn't go into for lifelong slavery, right? But only John Kazar. But from that case, all people of color here in America are slaves forever. Y'all gotta understand how that is a part of a system, an agenda to push their degeneracy on us. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm gonna call it. So y'all know how we do. We're the supreme ones over here. So let's get back to the 18th century. So that's the 1600s. Now we're gonna go to the 1700s, right? That's a lot more accomplishments, you know, that they say is African American. But once again, we know African American. So we're just gonna knock the African off and be American. And we know who the only Americans are then, just like now, are us. Okay, let's go. First free American community, Gracia Real de Santa Teresa de Moses, later named Fort Moses in Spanish Florida. No, just Florida. Spanish ain't got shit to do. See, that's what I'm saying. Well, basically, how about this? When they say Spanish Florida, once again, they assume that Spain owns it. No, Spanish speaking this language. The Calusa wasn't like they were for 12,000 years, not building all the monuments and things they built without being able to speak to each other. They had a language. What was that language? Well, they don't exist anymore because we have changed them, turned them into something else. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they do. You guys have been turned into Geechee. You guys have been turned into Yamasi. You guys have been turned into Seminole. You guys, what? So back to these people right here, right? So I just want to let you guys understand that these people came here. We are Americans. We never came here so just to tell us that we came here, that, you know, whatever, and then put us a part of out of Africa, a theory of evolution, a eugenic paradigm. Once again, it shows us what you guys are talking about. Once again, we have the evidence. Okay, so let's keep going. And hold on, it says, I'll check this one out. So the first American land, the first American, hold on, what the fuck? The first known American and slave to compose a work of literature, Lucy Terry, with her poem, Bars Fight, right? Composed in 1746, right? And it says, and first published in 1855 in Josiah Holland's History of Western Massachusetts, okay? Okay, 1760. First known African-American, let me say about that right there. I didn't go into that. Lucy Terry. Is you want to do that? I don't know if we had more time. We had to come back later, Lucy Terry. Yeah, let's keep going. First known African in 1760. Now this is before the formation of what is called America. That's 17, right? 76, right? And then later, 1787, and with the Constitution in Philadelphia, right? So let's keep going. Right? So this is not America yet. So when they're calling somebody African American in a time when America wasn't designated America even yet, right? The people that they identify as American would be the indigenous people of the land, the aborigines of the land. Y'all kind of get the connection while we are connecting ourselves to American, because it denotes the copper color. That's us. Put a penny on yourself. Copper color races, or the aborigines that they found when they came here. You know what I'm saying? That's us. So you can't get past what you guys, even in their hijack of terms and conversations, that's still there. You know what I'm saying? So did I? Hold on. It says first known African-American published author Jupiter Hammond poem An Evening, and this is in, I can't see that, 1760 something up there. 1760. Thought Salvation by Christ with Pentennial Cries, okay, whatever, published as broadside, right? Now, what is interesting, a lot of these things were published years after they were written, right, by other people. So when they published it, they translate it. And so a lot of times, by the time we get stuff, it being like the 20th edition, 30th edition, stuff like that, mean that it has been translated and changed and changed and changed through the time. So they're writing about times back in the thing, right? So says a broadside is yeah, go back to that. A broadside is a large sheet of paper printed on one side only. Historically, broadsides were used as posters, announcing events or proclamations, commentary in the form of ballads, or simply advertisement, right? Now, that's interesting that we talk about broadsides, right? Because a lot of times when you talk about these Jim Crow stuff, right, it's just what it was. It was just broadsides, it's just posters. Like, you know what I'm saying? And people's attitudes. So they be like, man, this is our attitude about our town and shit like that. You guys can't come over here. You know what I mean? If you do come over here, this is how it's got to be. That don't make it law, but if a lot of people are there and they have that mindset, like me right now, if I make a whole bunch of posters and go to all public buildings, all Walmarts, they got water fountains, everything, and I put the black, white stickers on the wall, on the thing, either side, doesn't matter, right? White, black, white, it doesn't matter, right? It's just a poster. Right? Anybody can interpret that and say that was the attitude of the people, and then somebody can say, well, these are the codes, and then they turn around and be like, the codes are laws, because when you're codes, you're laws, right? Once again, Jim Crow was not laws; it was just posters. It was broadsides. Okay, so 1768, first known American to be elected to public office, Wentworth Cheswell, town constable in Newmarket, New Hampshire, right? Now, that's 1768. It's still not America yet. So what are you saying when you're saying he's the first, whatever, if that's not American? You understand what I'm saying? And what were we doing? You know, how are we doing the things? How are we trading? How are we building? And what is, for us, the majority of this country is America, right? What were we doing? What were our nations doing? What were our tribes doing? We wasn't waiting on Wentworth and them to vote, because they got that concept of voting and democracy comes from America. It doesn't come from China, it doesn't come from Africa, it doesn't come from Europe. It comes from here. Y'all got to keep that back in mind. And once again, that goes along with the language. They tell you that they brought Spanish here. They tell you that they brought the language that we speak here, American English, here. They tell you that they brought Latin here. Latin is ancient here. They just wasn't called Latin. Once again, the people who are writing the story is telling the story how they want to tell it. But we're gonna expose all this. Let's go. So 1768, so it's constable. 1773, first known American woman to publish a book, Phyllis Wheatley, Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral, right? Now, a lot of times people take movies, poems, and back in the days before there was movies and stuff, it was books, and people that could read, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, had a lot of power over people that couldn't read, y'all. It's just what it is, or especially these languages. So somebody that was educated would seem to have more power over somebody else, especially if they create the system and say it's in this language and they the ones create the language and mastered it, then you got to change up your stuff. It makes you seem slower than them. You see what I'm saying? When they just corrupted your system by changing the language. That's what the British/Slavic people have done. Period. Okay? It's just the truth. 1775. Now we're getting closer to what is called America, but not just quite yet. 1775, first American to join the Freemasons, Prince Hall, right? That's 1775. So still wasn't America yet, but he joined the Freemasons in 1775. 1778. Right now, closer towards what is America, because you still haven't ratified the Constitution yet. Still, but I don't know. We could kind of technically start calling you what it's in 13 colonies at the time, America. But let's go. So this says the first Rhode Island regiment, right, was a regiment, and remember what road mean? Road, Rudy, Rudd, talking about the people, the descriptive term of the people in that bay in Rhode Island. So y'all go back and watch that when we did that. Respect to the check. So not Cecil Rhodes, none of that. Once again, they're taking on our shit as opposed to, and then tell you that they didn't know. rode Rudy Island. How about that? Was a regiment in the Continental Army, right? Now, remember, this is the Continental Army that fought against the so-called British company, or the Dutch company, the German Hessians. Y'all get the picture, right? Okay. So, raised in Rhode Island during the American Revolutionary War. Now, remember who were the Americans in the American Revolutionary War. Now, Britain didn't send a whole bunch of people over here because remember, they had to get mercenaries. They had to use people by proxy that maybe tribes that were more friendly to them. Once again, just using our sectarial trade agreements and stuff like that. So it wasn't country versus country because America wasn't a country yet, and Britain, they didn't know. This is just business disputes between companies and mercenaries. Okay, it'd be like Blackwater of today, right? So it says in the Revolutionary War since 1775. So the wars mean 1775 to 83. So that means that no America didn't happen until at least after 83. So we're still not talking about America right now with this 1778 because they still at war according to them right here in the Revolutionary War, right? It says it was one of the few units in the Continental Army to serve through the entire war, from the siege of Boston to the disbandment of the Continental. No, I stopped right there. Yeah, keep going. I guess that's gonna say to the disbandment of the Continental Army. You know what I'm saying? So which is interesting. You know, because you know that's the first thing, disbanding your army and then allowing somebody else to give you another a system. You know what I'm saying? So when we go back to look at what happened and why we're in these positions, you know, it just got to go back in history and kind of check the things, because a lot of times it ain't even a color; they adding a color system to it. Remember in the baseball, it was like, yo. It was a band that we when I say we not only invented baseball, but we started what it was called baseball, or whatever. Like when they talk about segregation or whatever, but even when you talk about the Major League Baseball, or whatever, they just kick people out of it as they brought more of their brothers and cousins over here. This is a job. They're like, no, we're gonna get those jobs, get them out of there. And so niggas had to create their own in 1920. That ended in 1950 because once again, that's economic boom. They wanted in. So 1950, that's I wasn't around in 1950, but we had more economically in 1950, 1945, 1935 than we even have right now. And we have more resources and things of the day. That doesn't make any sense. What happened? Okay, well, we said that, well, their baseball league is better than ours. Well, who's selling the popcorn now? Who's creating the clothes? Who's doing this? Who's doing this? You understand what I'm saying? When these are the things that we had, these stadiums in our communities, we had racetracks in our community for horses. These things fueled our communities. So economic terrorism happened to us by people who came here. That's a fact. And it is still being subsidized to this day. It's just facts, you guys. Expected to check it. It said it was one of the few regiments that, right, the siege of Boston disbanding on the Continental Army on 1783. So they disbanded according to them in 1783, which is kind of interesting. It doesn't make sense to disband because, you know, if you was into a war and these people coming over here trying to fight you and take your shit, you just kick their ass out. Why would you disband? You're gonna reinforce your forts. You're gonna do other things or whatever. You're gonna be making more soldiers. Y'all follow me? You're gonna get to building more or whatever, because once again, they bring a war to us when we extended the Great Law of Peace to them. Now, once again, the Constitution is the extension of the Great Law of Peace, coming after this war right here in 1783. This is not a long time ago, you guys, 1783. But in 1783, we were not called Africans. We were not called Black. We were called Americans, or by our tribes, or by the location. Our tribes are usually just associated with the locations or the descriptive term of us. You know what I'm saying? It's all one and the same. If you Pontchartrain, we know where the hell you from. Tallahassee, we know where the hell you from. Tanasi, you know where the hell you from. You understand what I'm saying? Gullah, you know where the hell you from. And then it associates with language. Cherokee, Muskogee, Choctaw. You understand what I'm saying? But these languages are all interchangeable. Seneca, they all interchangeable, and they all are Latin-based. Latin is indigenous to America. You know what I'm saying? Y'all respect the check. So it says 1785, first American ordained as a Christian minister in the United States, Reverend Lemuel Haynes. No, we ain't even go to his ass. Was ordained in the Congregational Church, which became the United States Church of Christ. Not the African or the Black United, right? None of that. It was the United, right? The United that later became the United Church of Christ, which is kind of interesting, right? United Church of Christ. We're not gonna get into that either. Let's keep going. I'm trying to, hold on. Y'all fast 7 up, my bad. Y'all, 1783, y'all. This is the end of the Revolutionary War. It says the first American to formally practice medicine. That means to them, medicine was James Durham, who did not hold a medical degree. Okay. 1847. I just did that in Church of God. 1792, first major American back to Africa movement. 3,000 Black loyalists, slaves Black loyal to slaves. Now think about this. That means that who are they loyal to? They're loyal to them. They're not loyal to us. When we talk about who loyal to us, if they loyal to the soil, then they're not going nowhere. If they loyalists to them, then they're going somewhere. So it says loyalists were people of, they say African descent. Well, we know, once again, the out of Africa hypothesis wasn't back then. So we know in 1792, we're not talking about people who would consider themselves Africans or Black. Okay. So were people of African descent who sided with the loyalists during the American Revolutionary War. That means that you was turncoats and traitors, that you was working with them. But that doesn't mean that you wasn't Gullah. That means that you wasn't Geechee. That means you wasn't Arawak. That don't mean that you wasn't Taino, Kalinago. You understand what I'm saying? Pequot. That doesn't mean that you wasn't Choctaw. That doesn't mean that none of that sided with these people. We know still to this day, people are siding, your niggas is loyalists and not loyal to your people. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? Let's get these crowns off of here. Okay. Hold on a second. They said they were loyal during the Revolutionary War, right? It said in particular, the term refers to men who escaped enslavement by patriot masters and served on the loyalist side because of the crown's guarantee of freedom. Now, right there, right? Then we talking about the patriots, right? A lot of times we say, Chief, how can you be a patriot and a revolutionary at the same time? But once again, they have turned patriots into revolutionaries. But once again, because we're right. Like when you watch the movie Red Dawn, like we are the Americans fighting on our own soil. Like people came here, so that's not an imaginary thing. You know what I'm saying? It says 1792, the first American back to Africa. Now they went to okay, so they were promised after the Revolutionary War. They were promised of freedom. Were located to Nova Scotia, that's Canada, and given land later. 1,200 chose to migrate to West Africa and settle in the new British colony of Settlertown, which is present day Sierra Leone. Now, what is interesting about these people right here, they would have taken their culture there, correct? Right? They take their culture there. They wouldn't have left they pallets here, like what they want to eat. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have they would have taken their skill set there or whatever, what they do, you know what I'm saying? Things of that nature, whatever. So, and apparently they didn't have airplanes, so somebody's selling. So, you know, when they say slaves, once again, we know now this is before the American Colonization Society, according to them, right? Now, these are people leaving North America, going and setting up what is called Sierra Leone today, what is called Settlertown then, right? Now, and they getting their ass up out of here because they were sided with those people, right? So in 1793, first African Methodist Episcopal AME Church, and we know that was Negro, not African. Negro, right? We already know about old Mother Bethel AME Church, right? In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was founded by Richard Allen. We already know about Richard Allen. Let's keep going. 1794, First Episcopal Church established. Absalom Jones founded African Episcopal Church of St. Thomas, and that's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right? So that's just okay. We get to the 19th century. We're gonna get out of this too. I want to get to the other stuff. I don't want to get bogged down. This is so much stuff. Just wanted to kind of just give you guys, you know, what's going on. I show Absalom Jones, those other people, distinguished gentlemen. John Boston, Alexander Twilight, James. Okay, let's get out of that. Shout out to James Williams in the building. Let me check out. Shout out the chat room, man. I ain't been in there in a minute. Y'all want to pull the next one up? Tony Furlow in the building. He Who Is, Princess High, John Oakes. Shout out to everybody, man. Thank you guys for tapping in. Chickahominy Roots, Jersey Slugger. Peace of the guys, man. Shout out to Holla Bell. Legend of Naga Charlie, Power, Marcia. Peace to the guys, man. I see Ab TV in the building. King Ether. Congratulations once again on the twins. Peace of your Empress. Yeah. What we got in here? Thank you guys. I see the assassin up in the building, man. Say peace to the guys, man. We really appreciate you guys. Scrolling over here. Infinite the God, peace to the God. Ty, King Ty, Feg 2.0. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate all the love, man. I'm just here, just your humble servant, man. I see Hardline in the building. Peace to the Kings. All the Empresses and all the guys out there, man. I see Tayshawn in the building, man. What's we got in here? Just nobody. I thank you guys take your time out to come tap in, man. I see Grateful in the building. Okay, Mr. C. Yeah, man. Peace to everybody, man. Thank you guys. Charles Clark. Glad you guys taking notes, man. Any questions, man? Like I said, you guys put them in there as well. But I wanted to talk about this education and how they got us. Trying to see if we got the right one. Pull this right one up. So American struggle. Yeah, this is the right one, guys. Now we'll talk about the educational system and how we got to this point, right? So this is it. This is it right here. Check this out. So it says the American struggle, because we Americans, not African Americans. Remember these rules. We're not African American. This happened before. They terminized it. That has nothing to do with us. It says the American struggle through the U.S. educational system, right? It says dates 1870. And they say, 1870. Well, what coincides with 1870, right? Reconstruction. This is after the Civil War. Okay, now we've allowed some people who have come in after 1865, according to you guys, right? Came in after 1865, and by 1870 started in small pockets to teach our people. Now, what is interesting about when we say small pockets, right? Now I want to explain why I'm saying that, right? So if you, for instance, say have somebody in a county, right, in Mississippi that had to, their case, this small county, one county in Mississippi, and I'm gonna use my state, right? Shout out to the great state of Mississippi. That one county in Mississippi says, man, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? We're doing this, right? And that case goes all the way to the Supreme Court, right? Now, the attitude from those people, right, from that case spreads. Or even if they lose, right, the attitude from that case still spreads. It's not necessarily right, but it still becomes socially accepted. So certain terminology and certain things become socially accepted, right? So when we talk about 1870, you know, it wasn't all over the country that they were educating us at the same time. So it spread and it became what I want to say after what it says right there, 1890. So 1870 to 1890. After 1890, we start getting into the religious guys. You know what I'm saying? Well, we already into religious guys because they're already educating some people through religion. You understand what I'm saying? Through the church. So that's already has happened even before 1870. So people are already moving towards what these people are doing, right? So so the location, Orange, Florida. So now they're giving you a location when this happened in Orange, Florida, right? So it says Black schools, once again, that's a concept, educational system, African Americans, Plessy versus Ferguson, right? To Brown versus Board of Education, right? So this is what we're gonna get into. Course, this is History 240, African American History 1, Rollins College. Now, what is interesting about African American history, this will have to be, when it's done, this will have to be after the 1990s, right? Because once again, wasn't African American then. And before what is called African American History or Studies, it was called Black Studies, okay? In the 80s, which is only starting in the 80s, okay? So let's get to this. Before the end of the Civil War, the education of the Black slaves in the United States was a criminal endeavor. Although, which is weird, y'all, was a criminal endeavor. Before the end of before the end of the Civil War, the educational of Black slaves in the United States was a criminal endeavor. What is interesting about that, you guys, they never pull out anything to denote criminal and like a law. Like I've been looking, I've never seen a law on documents that is illegal to teach your children how to read or to teach what, you know what I'm saying? Like people could have been like the Waterboys in Waterboy movie. I remember Waterboy and he was like, nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Education, miseducation, indoctrination. Could y'all imagine we all just turned that shit down? Like, nah, we're going to continue to educate ourselves and pass our culture down because we had this long before y'all came here, right? Imagine we did that, but we didn't. All right, so get back to this, right? It says, said Black slaves. Says, okay, so it says, although efforts were made in the newly formed free Black communities to organize schools, few Americans received any education at all before the Reconstruction era. When public schools were open, even though establishments for Black children were poorly financed and largely ignored, they're still doing that to this day, emerging in the 1870s, Jim Crow laws ruled the educational system and schools became legally racially segregated. Legally racially segregated. Now, when they say that, still to this day, you can segregate your school, but it has to be a private school. Now keep that in the back of your mind. So once again, they say things, they put things out there only to make you feel less than. Because once again, it's wants to make you say it's a Black, right? They're not telling you guys not to fund Black things, Black schools, Black this, Black that. Nobody's telling y'all not to do that. You just inherently understand that Black is kind of wrong. And it's just, I'm sorry, y'all, like it's just kind of a thing when we're talking about the psychology, when we're under the psychological warfare. So when we talk about the terminology and things, we got to just be honest about it. You know what I mean? So this is it. So when you talk about racially segregated in 1890, the first quote colored, right? And once again, colored denotes the copper colored people, not black colored, copper colored, right? Remember, that's the definition of American, the copper colored races, right? That's us, colored. Colored school building in Winter Park was opened to American children under the harsh conditions of the time. Now, the reason why I say that, not only American children, but we also took in Slavic children. We took in anybody. Y'all know that. This is just historical facts or whatever you guys seen Once Upon a Time in America. Y'all know what I'm talking about. In 1896, the Supreme Court decision of Plessy versus Ferguson established separate public schools for Black and white students. The decision also deprived once again, American children of equivalent educational advantages. Well, we see it as disadvantages as indoctrination, right? Colored schools had to do with scant financial support and negligible resources. A damaged photograph from 1890 documents the opening of the first school building for Americans in the city of Winter Park, Florida. This schoolhouse appears consistent with the common characteristics of, quote, colored schoolhouses emerging across the nation. Few teachers, far too many students, and clearly underfinanced. Two school teachers pose in the photograph alongside roughly 40 students. School children who mostly are in want of shoes, right? Right? So they said they needed shoes. The school children in the photograph range from toddler age to early teens, a characteristic typical of the time. So y'all ever heard of like the classes back in the days, and they would talk about it where everybody would be in the same class. So you have from first grade all the way to 12th grade in the same class in 5th grades. But the older students would help the younger students. That's how that worked. How much more advanced the younger students would be every time, and how sharp the older students would be teaching as well as helping teach the younger students. So now you have a built-in teacher's aid, built-in teachers teaching the younger generations. The lack of proper and fair financing for Black learning institutions affected the quality of the education provided, right? So it said the lack of fair financing, right? Fair financing for Black learning institutions. Now, once again, if they have this program, right? If they got a program called the Black Program, right? And it's like, I know Trump was like close to 100 billion. So I know Biden's probably got like a $200 billion budget for his ass. Why not invest that money in the safety and the security and the prosperity of Americans? Like, I don't understand why that's a problem. Why, other than just, once again, having a prejudice, a whole, we can't keep saying racist because, like, once again, it's too broad. Like, y'all know what I'm saying? Just have a hate. And once again, it's just hate. So putting Black, and then we're talking about Black learning institutions and why this affected us. Whatever. Let's keep going. I think we got all that right there, right? It said the struggle for fair, and I think I missed something right there, you guys. So let me go back. It said said the lack of learning, right, said, so the financing for Black, the lack of financing for Black learning institutions affected the quality of education provided, right? Teachers could not give pupils ample individual attention, and therefore students were made to work exponentially harder in order to succeed. What? Does that make sense? When we think of all the people that came out of that era and all the things that they invented and that made this country great, that they came from the South and came up to the North, made all these places great based off of all the hard work. So we cannot shit on our ancestors and the hard work that they did. Once again, this is these people right here minimizing it by once again, this their narrative that they're spinning for it. See what I'm saying? This is the shit I'm talking about. That's why your Sahib's here, whatever, to decipher this shit. But this right here is the problem I have with these people. You know what I'm saying? And why we have to start, once again, when I'm Googling stuff, when I start seeing our stuff pop up, that's what we're talking about. When we start seeing our books pop up, our movies pop up, our thing, y'all understand art. This is a movie right now. People say, when the movie coming, Chief? When you buying it? Fuck, when you supporting it? When you supporting the movement? See what I'm saying? See, that's the whole problem right there. Everybody got all this mouth of what they doing. And once again, I'm doing my job right now. Just giving the people the good news that, you know, these people, this is where it's at. In order for us to fight something, like, why is this educational system bad for us? Whatever. We're gonna get to it from Plessy to Brown. You know what I'm saying? And Brown ain't Brown. Brown is a Jewish guy or whatever. But once again, these are the people, whatever, that have a vested interest in pushing you out there. Like, yeah, we want to be in school with you guys, and then get looked over by their teachers. They get all the jobs. What about that? As opposed to employing these people to educate our people, once again, they're the ones in that taking those jobs. Once again, those are jobs. Once again, cops are jobs. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Firemen are jobs. These are jobs. That is infrastructure. These are infrastructure jobs. Hospitals, all nurses, these are jobs. You understand what I'm saying? And we have been being economically froze out of jobs with things. Once again, they were coming over here in the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, whatever, to Ellis Island, didn't have the skill set or whatever, these hardworking children right here in Florida. You understand what I'm saying? Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas, whatever, that built this country. They just got here in the late 1800s. Now, even when we're talking about the before the 1700, whatever, the reason why Ellison was the largest landowner is because it was more of us here then, and we owned the land before they came here. Doesn't that make sense? They wasn't here yet, and it wasn't legal for them to own land. It would just be like, we can go anywhere and just go buy some land. No, there's protocol. It's always been protocol. We just never allowed people come over here and just, oh, let's just come over here and buy some land. From who? Who sold it to you? See what I'm saying? So we got to talk about it. We got to talk about, hold on, guys. I can't see. Screen, 1 second. Okay. Let me get back to this. All right. So it says, I'll get back to this. So it talks about, so the students had to work harder in order to succeed, right? Really? However, as in the 1890s, this photograph illustrates attendance was high, and both students and teachers alike were proud of their new privilege. Once again, that's game. However tainted it may have been, right? So once again, they're talking about privileges and how tainted it may have been. I mean, once again, it's always like to push our accomplishment down. But once again, the hard work and to work so hard or whatever, attendance was high. people's spirit was high, whatever, but it's getting indoctrinated. Like, once again, they can funnel the information. And even back in them days, they talk about the old books and things people would get, right? Well, who are you getting the books from? Well, we're going to give them this right here. What do you mean? So that's a problem. It says, so the struggle for fair and equal education for Americans was long and hard, but much progress was made through the efforts of organizations such as the NAACP. Now, y'all know that's some bullshit. But once again, they don't have black. It's the advancements of colored people, right? Colored. And we know other people who put themselves into colored category, right? And individuals like Oliver Brown, right? Now, speaking of individuals that put themselves in the colored category, Oliver Brown is not colored. Oliver Brown is a Jewish descent, right? Right? Who pushed for fairness in the educational system. U.S. schools were legally desegregated in 1954 by Supreme Court decision of Brown versus Board of Education, which overturned Plessy versus Ferguson and stated that separate educational facilities, quote, separate educational facilities are inherently equal, end quote. Groups of American students like the Little Rock Nine began to previously, quote, all white schools, and thus began the long process of desegregation in American public schools. Though the U.S. school system still struggles with issues relating to fair education of American children, the nation has certainly come a long way since the founding of the Winter Park, quote, colored schoolhouse in 1890. Now, what is crazy about this, right? We're gonna keep going. What is crazy about this, right? Man, this is an agricultural society. So in an agricultural society, you definitely like education. Once again, education you what? Giving you a language. You have to learn this language. Once again, when we talk about the language that we're speaking now, yeah, even though it's similar to, not similar, majority of the language comes from us and it's mixed with them for trade. Once again, it's about trading. This is all business to educate us to work for them and build their shit. If I can teach you it as a child, don't matter what, you're gonna work hard, excel at it or whatever. Just like other people that are just now, or say 100 years later in 1990, saying, man, we can work hard in this right here and excel in this system, right? But for us, we did all this 100 years ago and they did this, you know what I'm saying? And we don't want it no more, you know what I'm saying? We did all that and they basically they took it over. Our niggas just gave it away. Y'all dig what I'm saying? And so this is what we're talking about. Let's keep going. So it says the first colored school built in 1890. Photograph was 1890 Rollins College, and it comes from Rollins College archives, right? And that was in Florida. So once again, even when you got Ferguson versus Plessy, right? I don't know if we can pull that up real fast. Yeah, we got another 30 minutes. I guess we can go to that real fast. Can we pull that one up? Ferguson versus Plessy. We're just gonna run through this real fast, you guys. You guys can pull these things out to kind of confirm what I'm saying. Basically, with that, it wasn't all over the place. We're talking about Arkansas, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was in Arkansas. When we pull it up, we get right into it. But the one case that makes it to the Supreme Court, they'll be like, oh, that was the whole case for everybody. Basically, it says that even to this day, you could be segregated if it's private and it's not, you're not getting public funds. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning federal funds or even state funds, right? In some states, once again, once we get to Plessy, Ferguson versus Plessy, you guys can understand what I'm saying. It was like, fuck that. The whole state was like, nah. Because whatever administration or some clandestine people can get into power there or whatever, they would say, well, fuck it. The governor said it's the whole thing too. See what I'm saying? And so now y'all can use public funds to segregate your schools, right? So then they're saying, no, that doesn't work. And so 1954, they said you can't do that. So they overturned it with the Brown versus the Board of Education, right? But it was really their Trojan horse to come in and finish taking over and make it legal for them to educate us. Like, it's illegal for you to not be in the educational system, which should be illegal. It should not be their right to tell you how you should educate yourself or your children. It's just crazy. And we need a better system. Like I said, the older children would teach the younger children. They would, if you have taught them well. So if you're at a dojo and you have taught the older child, he has mastered a certain degree of stuff, of moves and stuff. The next children that come up, he's going to teach them. As you're going to teach them, but now they can practice with you, and he's going to be being able to teach them a little more, and so on and so forth, and they're just passing it down. It makes everybody stronger. That's just how that works. So yeah, let's pull this Plessy in real fast. We want to do this thing. So peace to everybody, man. Tapped in. Got over here. DJ Cut Attack. Peace, King. Yeah, it's warming up out here in Vegas, man. Sheesh. At that time. Peace to everybody, man. Make sure I got everybody. I hope you guys are doing well, man. You and your tribe are doing well. Yeah, man. Do me a favor, man. Like, share, subscribe, man. If you haven't, share this on all your social media platforms, man. What you got in here? Lady Lindia Bartlett is in the building. Peace, Empress. Denise Rivers, South Carolina, got Penn Center, 1855. Got the Penn Center. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, indoctrination is definitely a hell of a drug, infinite. Big old boom pieces to it. Big old up in there. The Hyena Chief. Haru, the Duke of the Great Lakes. Waking they ass up. That's what's up, man. King Ty Fig. Lucky Guzman's in the building. Just put something in there. Hey, man, you guys definitely don't hesitate to share some stuff related to anything that we're talking about or anything else you think is relevant with the tribe, man. Dave Vaughn in the building. Peace, King. Thank you guys for tapping in, man. What's we got here? Greedy Vegan is in the building. Quadruple OG. Wilmore Reed is in the building. Peace, Kings. What you got here, man? Full house tonight, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Really appreciate it, man. Like I said, man, this is gonna be Deep Lockett. What up, though? Hey, man, where y'all tapped in from, man? Y'all already know. A lot of y'all been around, man. Hampton McNeil is in the building. That's right. I think he's saying vultures right there. I know, man. Support the real. As you get. You already know, man. If y'all have an event space, man, looking to book myself and Big Aboriginal Power, man. Hit me up. IDGAF bookings at gmail.com. We're gonna be sliding through, man. Like I said, we're gonna make some announcements real soon. If you guys haven't subscribed to I Don't Give a Fuck Sports News Entertainment, man. You already know, man. Tap in. Shout out to Black Wolf in the building, Mississippi in the building. Peace to the guy, man. I'll say peace to everybody, man. Tapped in, man. We really appreciate you guys. Real talk. To this right here, Plessy, real fast. I guess I just want to run through it so you guys understand how they're using just propaganda, and even when you're reading stuff now, they're changing shit. You know what I'm saying? So when we even talking about Plessy and Ferguson, this is the one that they said that made shit. They could segregate schools, right? Okay, well, let's talk about it. So it says U.S. 163, U.S. 537, 1896 was a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, in which the court ruled in the racial segregation laws did not violate the U.S. Constitution. Now, it's just like anything else, right? That if you have in the system a court that was leaning towards a certain mindset, then when they voted or whatever, then it's going to go in that mindset. Just like right now, if you put in another Republican thinking person in there, like they're trying to do, then they're going to obviously, when the court decides on stuff, it's going to decide in that mind frame. You know what I'm saying? So at this time period or whatever, who was in office and what was their mind frame, what they would be voting on, right? So when we talk about this in 1896, let's keep going. Plessy versus Ferguson. Yeah, we're just gonna run through this real fast, you guys. Let's say this. As long as the facilities for each race were equal in quality, a doctrine that came to be known as separate but equal. They said, yo, we could have two different water fountains, right? In these things, but it has to be separate but equal, right? So once again, I ask this question, right? If you got white and then you have color, white or you have black in this concept, right now, would you guys always, in my black ass mind, when I used to be so blacked out, you guys, I've been happy to drink out the black fountain. I'm like, man, paint this motherfucker black. Y'all follow me? As long as that shit cold. But y'all get the point or whatever. So when we talking about separate but equal, right? Was a legal doctrine in the United States constitutional law, according to which racial segregation did not necessarily violate the 14th Amendment to the United States, which nominally guaranteed equal protection under the law to all people. Now, according to the Constitution, right, that predates this or whatever, and they haven't by at least 100 years, over 100 years, or a little bit over 100 years, 1787, right, said that all men is, inalienable rights and equal and all these other things, right? Once again, we got to talk about these things. When they coming in now, they're bringing more of their people in, trying to segregate shit. You know what I'm saying? When they're saying, as long as your stuff is the equal stuff, then it could be segregated. But then that contradicts unequal funding going to schools even today around America. All schools should get the same funding. I don't give a fuck what it is. But once again, if you got private schools, then they can do other things. They can give scholarships. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, let's get back to this. All right. So, you already know, man. He's excited. Says full case, Homer A. Plessy versus John H. Ferguson, right? Those are the names. It says, get to those things right there. Decision, it's an opinion. I guess you guys can get the PDF of the case history prior. This was Louisiana. If I'm not mistaken, I'm remembering. This is in Louisiana, right? So it says right here, separate but equal decision legitimized the many state laws re-establishing racial segregation that had been passed in the American South after the end of Reconstruction, right? That's after 1865 to 1877, right? The underlining case began in 1892 when Homer Plessy, a mixed race resident of New Orleans, now who's he mixed with? Okay, we can talk about that, deliberately violated Louisiana's Separate Car Act of 1890. Now, we'll get back to that, which required equal but separate railroad accommodations for, they're saying, white and non-white passengers, right? Now, when we talk about the concept of white and the concept of even Aborigine, they made Aborigine bad because it was unequal treatment. And when we talking about after this time in Australia, they made people that was the Aborigines there say, okay, that we don't even want to be associated with that term. We want to be associated with the black fellas, because they made black popular, right? Remember they talking about in the clip earlier that we made black, us in America made black, nobody else. But who put that battery and that black battery in our back, and why did they do it? To push themselves up as whites, right? So Plessy, so I'm reading this as it is, but I'm trying to get you guys to understand how people can continue to oppress your mind even when they're writing stuff. When you read and you researching stuff today, they're writing words and they're putting things in your mind today, or putting situations in your mind today. So it's just a gift that keeps giving. You know what I mean? So let's go. Separate Car Act of 1890, right? Which required equal but separate railroad accommodations for white and non-white passengers. Plessy was charged with boarding a whites-only car. Well, why didn't they make a mixed car for him, right? If you're going to have this one and that one, then they should have made them say, okay, well, yeah, since we got mixed people, you have to have equal accommodations for people that are mixed, right? Now think about how expensive that is, or whatever. But once again, you can separate people by class on the train now. See how that work? So you travel on the train, you're not gonna sit with the people. That's called coach. You're gonna sit in the business class. Even on the plane, you can sit in the coach. They're sitting in the business class. They're sitting in the executive. Like, y'all follow me? He's kissing the pilot's ass right here. You feel me? So you're all on the same plane, eating the same peanuts. So anyway, if the plane go down, you're going down the plane. So once again, this is the problem. They're creating these things, right? Now, I ain't gotta tell you all the niggas that was in Louisiana. So these people are trying to keep their stuff separate from, from all these niggas, right? Anyway, so whites, okay, so was charged with boarding a whites only car. Now, if you guys seen something that says whites only, once again, y'all will be offended. You'll be getting to be crying and all this other stuff. But actually, if it's private, like a lot of those like private resorts or even private homes, it's like they could put whites only on their homes. Only white people can come in their house, according to them, right? You can't. There ain't no law against that. A lot of them put the little people with the noose up there, whatever. You got to look. Y'all know what I'm talking about? They be like whites only on their property. You can't sue them. You can't be mad that it hurt your feelings because they got whites only, and you niggas is saying blacks only, which you're black. So it's an equal thing. You can't be mad. So that's the thing. But our black is a crutch. It's a handicap. It's a weapon that's being used against you. That's what we're trying to prove. And they're not trying to reprove it, that they have put this in the educational system. Even when we talk about the Daughters of the Confederacy and stuff, that came after the Civil War. That came through the Reconstruction time right here. So they reconstructing history, his Tory, not his HIS and then STOY. No. His Tories. And we know who the Tories are. Look them up. The Tories. That political party is still, they just morph into other things. See what I'm saying? Into George Soros and the Democratic machine and all these other people or whatever, right? So we got to understand that. It says, and his lawyers petitioned Judge John Howard Ferguson to throw out the case on the grounds that the law was unconstitutional. Ferguson overruled Plessy's petition, and the Louisiana Supreme Court upheld Ferguson's ruling. Plessy then appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, I just want to point out, you guys, that Ferguson versus Plessy has nothing to do with schools and education. Okay? I just want to point that out. It has something to do with a railroad car. Has nothing to do with that. So they sell it as if it do, unless you look into it or whatever and see what it's about. It has nothing to do with that. So I just want to point that out or whatever when they talking about as far as segregating things. So we're talking about segregating public transportation. Okay. So the law was unconstitutional. Ferguson overruled Plessy's petition, and the Louisiana Supreme Court upheld Ferguson's ruling. Plessy then appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. In May 1896, the Supreme Court issued a 7-1 decision against Plessy, ruling that the Louisiana law did not violate the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, and stating that although the 14th Amendment established the legal equality of whites, check this out. Check this out. Check this out. All right, so Louisiana law did not violate the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, and stating that although the 14th Amendment established the legal equality of whites and blacks, it did not and could not require the elimination of all distinctions based upon color. The court rejected Plessy's lawyers' arguments in that the Louisiana law inherently implied that black people were inferior, and gave great deference to American state legislators' inherent power to make laws regulating health, safety, and morals, the police powers, and to determine the reasonableness of the laws that they pass. Right now, keep in mind all this. This is when they're coming in, they're using their scientific jargons or whatever in the educational stuff that's attached to when we talk about religion. I gotta say, I mean, once again, they use religion to soften us up, even 100 years before this right here, to put them in this position to have police powers over us. Okay, and to determine the reasonableness of the laws they pass. Justice John Marshall Harlan was the lone dissenter from the court's decision, writing that the U.S. Constitution, quote, is colorblind and neither knows nor tolerates classes among citizens. We gotta get that man a clap of the day. Justice John Marshall Harlan. Shout out to John Justice Harlan. He one of the ones to step up and say the real shit. Okay, let's see what this nigga talk about right here. Justice John Marshall Harlan was an American lawyer and politician who served as an associate justice of the U.S. Supreme Court in 1877 until his death in 1911. I can't see that. Often called the great dissenter due to his many. I think right there's the great dissenter. Yes. Due to his many dissents in cases that restricted civil liberties, right? Like, I mean, he the only one saying, going to the Constitution, say, man, the Constitution colorblind, man. What are y'all doing? Y'all supposed to be about this, but y'all already selling out. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Harlan, man. Got to give him that. I got to keep going, man. We almost out of here. Got like 7 minutes. Hold on. Wait a minute. It was colorblind, right? It's the quote. He said, "Colorblind, right? Is neither known for its tolerance of classes." Now that means you don't get another vote like Elon Musk American. Like, no, if you whatever class you are, you could be the poorest person. Your vote counts just as much as your voice counts just as much as a person who has millions of dollars or even billions of dollars in American culture, in American law. We'll talk about the Constitution. So I just want to run through this real fast, man. I want to definitely get to Brown versus Board of Education. But once again, Plessy had nothing to do with that, but they push it off as if this has something to do with the educational stuff, right? Now, Brown versus Board of Education does, right? So hold on one second, right? So check this out. It says, and so the laws. Okay, scheduled for 7:30. Okay, we got a little time. All right. So the laws distinguishing of passengers races should have been found unconstitutional, right? So he's basically saying that this based off of class, based off of color, that has nothing. It should be unconstitutional based on the Constitution and American law, right? So it says Plessy is widely regarded as one of the worst decisions in U.S. Supreme Court history. I doubt that. Despite its infamy, the decision has never been explicitly overruled. But as a series of courts' later decisions, beginning with the 1954 decision, Brown versus Board of Education, which held that, quote, separate but equal doctrine is unconstitutional in the context of public schools and educational facilities, right, have severely weakened Plessy to the point that it is, let's keep going. Weakened Plessy to the point that it is considered to have been de facto overruled. Interesting. Let's keep going. I think that's it for that. And we give a little background. So just real quick. 1890, the state of Louisiana passed the Senate the Separate Car Act, right, which required separate accommodations for blacks and whites on railroads, right, including separate railroad cars. Concerned a group of prominent black Creole of color. Man, we gotta hit that. Let's see, black Creole of color. Sheesh. What is that? What was that? Black Creole of color? What was that? What is this? Louisiana Creole are people descended from the inhabitants of colonial Louisiana. Keep going. You gotta keep scrolling up. Okay, here we go. Say the Louisiana Creole people, right? We just passed a whole bunch of stuff up there, though. Okay, we gotta get to that. We know that these are the indigenous people, okay, of the land. Real quick, Creole de la Louisiana, right? Creoles of Louisiana, Spanish, Criollos de Louisiana are people descended from the inhabitants of the colonial Louisiana before it became a part of the U.S. during the period of both French and Spanish rule. French and Spanish rule. As an ethnic group, their ancestry is mainly of African, French, Spanish, and Native American origin. German, Irish, and Italian immigrants also married into these groups. Louisiana Creoles share cultural ties such as traditional use of French, Spanish, and Louisiana Creole. Now, Louisiana Creole. Okay, now it says ancestry is mainly of African, French, African, French. Go out of that for a second. I'm gonna say something real fast about this, and we'll come right back to that. Testing. Mic check. Okay, we're back. All right. So their ancestry, right? African, French, Spanish, and Native American. All right. So now we know Native American is the Aborigines, right? So these other groups created mixtures. Now I'm gonna ask you guys a simple question. Press go if you believe that the Americans, what they're calling Native Americans, would have been the majority in the admixture that they're calling Creole. If you believe that the Africans were the majority of the mixture, I don't know. Just let us know. If you believe French is the majority of it, if you believe Spanish, right? But the main, like, you understand what I'm saying? All of them couldn't have had the major mixture, right? But they also said that German, Irish, and Italian immigrants also married into these groups. Okay. Louisiana Creole share cultural ties such as traditional use of French, Spanish, and Louisiana Creole. All right, now let's go to Louisiana Creole, see what that's talking about. Spanish is, no. Is a French-based Creole language spoken by fewer than 10,000 people, mostly in the state of Louisiana. It is spoken today by people who racially identify as white, black, mixed, and Native American, as well as Cajun and Louisiana Creole. It should not be confused with language. Let's see what they're talking about. Confused with its sister language. Huh? Louisiana French, a dialect of French language. Louisiana French, a dialect of the French language. Many members of the Louisiana Creole people do not speak the Louisiana Creole language and may instead utilize French, Spanish, or English as everyday language. Oh, wow. Due to the rapidly shrinking, I got a little time, yeah. Rapidly shrinking number of speakers, right? Because more people speaking English because of the school system, right? Louisiana Creole is considered an endangered language. Terrible. Terrible, I say. is also married into Louisiana Creoles. Share cultural, traditional uses and prominent practices of Catholicism. And once again, you get down with a religion, it takes over your culture because now your culture becomes your religion, right? Is how that work? The term Creole was originally used by French settlers to distinguish people born in Louisiana from those born elsewhere, thus drawing a distinction between Europeans such as French and Spanish and African born in the old world from their Creole descendants native to the New World. Right? The word is not racially is not a racial label, and people of fully European descent, fully African descent, or any mixture there, including Native American admixture, may be the Creole. People of any race can and have identified as Creoles. In the late 19th and 20th centuries, however, the gens de couleur la presse in Louisiana I'm sorry. My bad, y'all. My bad. Sorry. You know, y'all want to be these people, man. I know you want to be them. Rachel Dolezal them been Creole. They be like, nigga, I'm Creole. How long? Like they be like, how long you gotta be Creole? You get Creole benefits. Oh my god. Shit, this is crazy. You a black Creole. Well, I'm a white Creole. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see how this work? You a black Indian. I'm a white Indian. You a blackamoor. I'm a crypto. I mean, man, this shit is crazy. It's pathetic, and we got to stop it as a people, man. You know what I mean? Like, for real talk, yeah, man, come on, man. Like, no. And once again, as far as the argument of mixed people, like, for me, you know, it's one drop Aborigine. You know what I'm talking about? You are people. So I don't play that. It's your intentions, it's your heart, it's your drive. And if you're a pale skin and you righteous and you about American business, you guys been here, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not blind. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, or whatever, like, you about being righteous, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times power, well, the power structures, we're all fighting it. A lot of times people are just being used. What pacifies them benefit, what they think of the privileges they get just infuse and funnels this system. You know what I'm saying? But once again, if we would have had that system, y'all would have came here from Europe. Europe would have never been developed. You guys would have never been able to send money on people. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So if we would have had the same mindset instead of have a given other mindset, teach people, learn, whatever, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to saying, okay, you're trying to hurt somebody, take something from somebody. That's not the American way. That's not the Indian way. That's not the Aborigine way. It's not the Mandalorian way. You know what I'm saying? So, let's get back to this. So, about the criminal in the 19th century, 20th century, however, right? And Louisiana became increasingly associated with the term Creole, and further identifications with mixed race took place during the interwar period in the 20th century. One historian has described this period as the Americanization of Creoles, including an acceptance of the American binary racial system that divided Creoles into those who identified as mostly white and others as mostly black. See, Creoles of color, right? Creoles was used casually as an identity in the 18th century in Louisiana. Starting in the the very early 19th century in Louisiana, after the United States acquired this territory in the Louisiana Purchase. The term Creole began to take on a more political meaning and identity, especially for those people of Latinate culture. These generally Catholic French speakers had a culture that contrasted with the Protestant English speaking and Anglo culture of the new American settlers from the Upper South and the North. In the early 19th century, amid the Haitian Revolution, floods of Saint Dominican refugees fled from Saint Dominic and poured into New Orleans, nearly tripling the city's population. Indeed, more than half of the refugees' population of Saint Dominique settled in Louisiana, and the majority remained in New Orleans, where they left strong influences on the city and the culture. Later 19th century immigrants to New Orleans, such as Irish, later 19th century immigrants to New Orleans, such as Irish, Germans, and Italians, also married into the Creole group. Most of the new immigrants were Catholic. There was also a sizable German Creole group of full German descent. Just like you have full German descent Native Americans. Centering on the parishes of St. Charles and St. John the Baptist. It is for these settlers that the Côte des Allemands, literally, quote, the German coast, right? They call this the German coast, right? But Allemands, Côtes, right? The Côtes is the coast. Allemands. I'm gonna have to get into the Allemands. I'm gonna come back to the Allemands. Literally, the German coast, right, is named, right? Okay. Over time, many of these groups assimilated in part or completely into dominant Francophone Creole culture, right? Speaking culture, right? Francophone Creole culture, right? Often adopting the French language and customs. Creoles of African descent exerted a strong influence on New Orleans culture still to this day, affecting local music, cuisine, and religious practices. Although Cajuns are often presented in 21st century as a group distinct from the Creoles, this is not true. As people born in colonial Louisiana, people of Cajun ancestry were referred to as Creole. And until the early mid 20th century, Cajuns were considered a subcategory of Louisiana Creole rather than a wholly separate group. Some Louisianians identify only as either Cajun or Creole. Others embrace both identities. Creoles of French descent, including those of Quebec, or Acadian lineage, have historically made up the majority of white Creoles in Louisiana. Remember, you have white Creoles, that means just like black Creoles. Let me check my sound, you guys. sound. Fix my microphone. Mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Yeah, I think that's gonna fix it. So, mic check, 1 2 1 2. All right. So, I don't know where it was weird at. I started there. Basically, we're getting back to the Quebecans, Creoles of French descent, including those of Quebecan and Acadian lineage, have historically made up majority of the white Creoles in Louisiana, right? Creoles are mostly Catholic, right? It says Louisiana Creoles are mostly Catholic in religion. Throughout the 19th century, most Creoles spoke French and were strongly connected to French colonial culture. Now, I have to tell you guys that they are also instilling in the CASA system, right? So we understand that that's a thing, but I submit that it didn't start out as a CASA system. That these people it was a cordial thing. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't warfare, because remember, we went to war against the incursions of the Dutch and the British and these guys. See what I'm saying? So coming from our perspective, coming from the South. See what I'm saying? So we got to talk about when we talk about these things. It definitely got to decode it, man. This is really interesting. And you know, when they get into it, they take over. So the sizable Spanish Creole communities of St. Bernard Parish and Galvestown spoke Spanish. The Malagueños of New Ibina spoke Spanish as well. Well, my thing is, right, well, if they was there before, obviously, you know, since the early 1500s, well, and then colonizing to the late 1500s, going into the 1600s, right? According to them, their colonization's mindset. And by the way, they didn't. In 1870 is when they started colonizing Africa. So the same time that they're seizing power here in America after Reconstruction, after our Civil War, they got industrialized and then went into Africa for the first time with their industrialization. And then that was short-lived because they got pushed up out of there after that. So all these tales of going and getting Africans, well, you just went and got Africans, millions of Africans, but you didn't colonize there. That doesn't make any sense. So it's just stupid. It's a stupid conversation. And when we talk about it, you know what I'm saying? So just decoding some of these things right here, man. So it says this, these people spoke Spanish. The IS, is that an LERFOS, and the MALAGUEFLOS were Louisiana-born whites of Creole heritage. And remember, Creole's not a heritage; it's a club that anybody can join, right? Since the mid-20th century, however, the number of Spanish-speaking Creoles has declined in favor of English speakers. They have maintained cultural traditions from the Canary Islands, from which their immigrant ancestors came. Interesting. The different varieties of Louisiana Creoles shape the state's culture, particularly in the southern areas around New Orleans and the plantations districts. Louisiana is known as the Creole State. While the sophisticated Creole society, while the sophisticated Creole society of New Orleans has historically received much attention. The Cane River area in northwest Louisiana, populated chiefly by Creoles of color, also developed its own strong Creole culture. Other enclaves of Creole culture have been located in South and Southwest Louisiana. Frioul Cove, Bois Mallet, Grand Marias, Parlamento, Martel, Soleil Coupe. Man, these words are terrible. Girardi, Prairie Laurent, and others. These communities have had a long history of cultural independence. Grand Marais was the largest and most well-known Creole community. Okay, New Orleans also has had a significant historical population of Creoles of color, a group that mostly consisted of free persons of mixed European, African, and once again, Native American descent. Many of these Creoles of color later assimilated into Black culture. Oh, whoa, no. Was that? That looked like Condoleezza Rice and the dashiki with a not a dashiki but a goddamn is that Condoleezza Rice with the what is that right there, kente thing? She graduated head of her class, African American. Wait, I thought it was Black culture. Black culture, Black turned into African American culture refers to the contributions of niggers. Okay, my bad, y'all. African Americans to the culture of the United States, either as part of or distinct from mainstream American culture. The distinct identity of African American culture is rooted in the historical experience of the African American people. Now, once again, we are the American people. Once again, that's the copper-colored races. Once again, we have a culture. American culture is Aborigine culture. I can say Black culture if you want people to understand. They didn't bring cowboys and Indians here. They didn't bring music here. They didn't bring these things here. They didn't bring these inventions and things that were invented by air quote Black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just crazy. But Black culture is African American culture, and African means in Africa, right? But it's like, oh, you know, everything they find here, all these pyramids, but that's African culture. No, it's not. Well, it says it is Egyptian. Well, no, that's just describing the culture. That has nothing to do with it's not indigenous. Egypt is not indigenous, just like Africa is not indigenous to Africa. Right? So while some chose to remain a separate yet inclusive subsection of the African American ethnic group, another area where many Creoles can be found is within the river parishes. St. Charles, St. John, and St. James, however, most Creoles are found in the greater New Orleans region or in the Cajun country. All right, you can go on out of that. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. See if we got any questions in the chat room. Shout out to American King in the building. Y'all, I kind of, like I said, man, these words spells and everything, they get into us. We've allowed these people to come in and teach us. We definitely gonna be coming back, going over the Daughters of the Confederacy. Once again, we have to destroy all the indoctrination, the pillars that they use of indoctrination, right? And most of the pillars they're using are words, and these words separate us. So when we're talking about FAA, foundational American Aborigines, it's to bridge the gap with our brothers and sisters that are waking up and you know, and the honor and the pride that they getting that this is their land. You know what I'm saying? And it's amazing, you guys. So it's just next level. So it's next level, my guys. Just this next level, man. Shout out to the original one. You know what I'm saying, in the building. Peace to the guys, man. Thank you guys for tapping in, man. For real. A lot of niggas. Yeah, man. It's all bad. We're not into that. Let's see. Once again, shout out to Bronze Flat Power in the building. K Bezel. Sure, we're gonna be talking about this over on Big Aboriginal Powers channel, man. Hey, man, like, share, subscribe, man. Hey, yeah, share this on all your social media platforms, man. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys tapping in, man. Really do. Opportunities on deck, man. Hit me up, chiefholiday@gmail.com, man. Point you in the right direction. Shout out to everybody coming in with your resumes, and I appreciate that, man. I really do. If you have a company, I don't care if it's a small company, mom and pop company, if you're hiring wherever you're at locally, you're taking care of your local people. Holla at me, chiefholiday@gmail.com. You guys already know, man, onlybuilders2022@gmail.com. If you're a builder and you're building, tap in, man. We're building over here in real time. Real building is going on. I'll show you guys some more building that's going on that I'm building in my family, you know what I'm saying? So, that we just not on here talking shit, that we're really building. So I'm going to show you guys some stuff in the Only Builders, man. So make sure that all you builders, man, tap in, man, on the next builders. Y'all know we might do that tomorrow. You never know. Also, Friday, I got D-Red, the Blue Collar Scholar, gonna be in the building, man. We're gonna be building on some stuff. We're gonna be talking about Pan-Americanism, what that means, and how can we get unity amongst so-called Black people here in America and then in the Americas after that, man. So, but I believe that it starts locally, man. So me and AP gonna be talking about that a little later. I believe, just like everybody believes, that everything starts locally. It starts at home first. That's as local as it get, and creating businesses, whatever. Then with your neighbors and or extended family and your neighbors and so on and so forth. If you can't do that within your own family, then I don't know how is it possible for people to try to do business with other people. You can't do business within your own family as well as your extended family. You know what I'm saying? So let's start there, man, as a solution to this thing. Some solutions we're not going to talk about on the air, you guys, because, once again, we want to give everything up. You can't show your whole hand to the world. Sheesh. These niggas be like, tell us more. Tell us your whole plan. And it'd be like telling everything, and then trying to bite. Shy Apis? Shy, what's happening, man? You done changed the name? What is going on? Peace to the guy, man. What's going on, young man? Tom Jones in the building, man. Peace to the guys, man. Hey, man, we're going to pull up a couple tunes, man, before we get up out of here, man. Let's have some fun, man. When we get over to Big Aboriginal Power, man, next 5 minutes. I want to say thank you guys for tapping in. Once again, like I said, man, we're going to be over there at Big Aboriginal Power, man. Like, share, subscribe, man. Y'all already know, man. Support the real, man. It's real as it get over here, man. Like I said, I had to rush through some of the stuff. Hey, do more research on your own, man. When we're talking about the word spells and things that they're using on us. I see everybody in the building, man. I see Marius Miller in the building, man. Peace to the guys, man. We really appreciate you guys, man. Really do. Hey, man, y'all know, man. We are 2am.com, man. Wake y'all ass up, man. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. We are 2am.com, man. Get you some exclusive Chief Billy drip, man. Get you the Aboriginal movie, man. You're going to be a movie. And you already know, man. AmericanAboriginalShoes.com, man. Walk like a god. You already know, man. Man, we over here working, man. Amaru Khan Wild is in the building. Peace to the guys, man. Really appreciate you guys. Really do. Thank you guys for tapping in, man. And all the energy that you guys are bringing to the table. Lewis Luck, thank you guys, man. Coming in, sharing your information. Man, I get so much stuff, man. It's gonna take me forever to get to the articles, the videos, and all that type of stuff, man. So I appreciate everybody that send that stuff to me, man. So really do. And I speed read, man. So I read just about everything. So If it's something that reading, definitely send it to me. Epic Studies is in the building. Peace of the guys, man. Indian Fee, Peace Empress, King Ye, Mr. Brooklyn, aka Aboriginal King, is in the building. My brother from another mother. Peace of the guys, man. Homegrown. Latin is an alphabet, not a language. Okay. All right, homegrown. That's what's up. I appreciate the ignorance. So, Latin is an alphabet. Okay, and it's a script, and that's how they applied the Latin script to ancient languages, sir. So we definitely understand that, but you understand we're talking about a language as well. So we're talking about that script. Thank you for understanding it, saying that, so we can the script is ancient here in America. So thank you, homegrown, smart asses. Hey man, y'all tuned in to the greatest of all motherfucking time. It's your Sahab. And I come in peace, man. Once again, like I said, man, you ain't gonna get this nowhere else in the world, man. You already know, man, me and AP putting it down over here, man. Shout out to A1, man. You already know, shout out to Jaguar. Man, shout out to all the brothers and sisters, man, that do this work, man, for real, from the bottom of your heart, man. And with no expectations, man, it was just the love of the people, man. But once again, other communities, and we talk about these communities, whatever, we got to see them as now, as they took our models, now we got to turn around and say, well, that should be the model, just like Edward Wilmot Blyden said that Zionism was the model for Ethiopianism. You understand what I'm saying? Like basically what they're doing. We look at the Asian communities, we look at the Jewish community, we look at even the air quote Hispanic communities. All these communities, they pool together. Even if they're a minority, they still pool their resources together to get social, political, economic power. You know what I'm saying? And we have the largest voting blocks and the largest spending blocks and a lot of things, but we're separated based off of a lot of different terminologies that were given to us to keep us separate. So that's what I want to leave y'all with tonight when we talk about black, and, you know, not to shit on nobody that identifies themselves black. I'm like, yeah, but I understand what you're saying when you talk about it, whatever. You know what I mean? If we specifically talking about somebody, but once again, if you say black Indian, it's a white Indian. And a gray Indian, and a pink Indian, and all this other shit that in turn has power over you in this social caste system. And that's what we're saying. So don't be emotionally attached to something that was applied to you for your conquest. You know what I mean? That's what it is. Absolutely, brother. You already know. Absolutely. That's right. Wake y'all ass up, man. Hey, man, jobs on deck, man. I'm super proud, man. I want you guys to definitely know that. I need you guys to know that I'm super proud of the work that we're doing over here. Shout out to Miss Gretchen Ham. You already know, man, the CEO, they be working super hard, man. We're all hands on deck, man. So if you guys want some building me done, don't ask the question of what we could do, what the Aboriginal community can do for you, for what you can bring to the Aboriginal community, man. So tap in, man. We're here, Only Builders 2022 at gmail.com. Build with the builders. We are the only builders on and off the field. Shout out to LoyalDetermined.com. Y'all know we coming soon, man. It's going to be stupid. The educational programs, everything we doing, man. I mean, y'all, man, like I said, man, this shit is next level. Tour coming. Everything, man. Y'all got anybody want interviews, man? Y'all know the price today ain't the price tomorrow. So y'all know right now we super cheap. Hey, we donating our time. What more is that? I can't get that time back from him. I can't get the time back from my mama that's still here right now. You understand what I'm saying? My sister, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man, love on y'all people too, man. Stop hating on y'all people. Love on y'all people. Get off the phone. Get off here right now, man, and go love on your people, man. You know, take some time out to love on your people, man. Y'all show too much love on goddamn YouTube. Go love on your people in your goddamn house. Love on your people in your community, man. That's what we doing over here, man. Love who love you. Hey, it's a lot of hate been going on here, man, but just know it's your Sahab, man. We come in peace, and we've been showing nothing but love. So sometimes you got to pull your belt off to show that tough love, man. And that's what we've been doing, man. So, hey, the adults are in the house, man. The adults in the building. I want to say shout out to everybody, man. Hey, man, we're going to get up out of here with a song. Hey, let's go, man. We're going to build a big Aboriginal power, man. I see you guys over there. Peace and love to everybody.
We out.
I know these niggas can't stand me. If they want a verse and they paying me. Like I don't do this for the family. They're for the birds, fuck 'em. And you know that's off the muscle. If it ain't no money involved, it's over my tolerance, zero muscle.
You know, for sure. Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode. I got them calling me Russell. That boy that out of control. That nigga lip, zip. Yeah, that boy that like a hoe. I guess I'm back in my bowl. Look like I'm back on that stove. You know, for sure. Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode. I got them calling me Russell. That boy that out of control. That nigga lip, zip. Yeah, that boy that like a hoe. I guess I'm back in my bowl. Look like I'm back on that stove.
Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode. Worked on my shine, I'm a beast. I'm kinda getting obese. Doctor said I had to stop eating beets. I'm a red-nosed pig, far from a stray, but I've been off the leash. Got ties with the mic, capiche? Say you want a feature for me? Shit is gonna cost you a fee. You know, got Bobby back in that mode. Ever since Dizzle came home, got word that Dolo got on. You know, for sure, created a lane of my own. So how the fuck you put me on? What kind of dope you smoking on? Let's go, my tolerance zero, Gilbert Arenas. Me, my niggas keep them woods in arenas. In the 7 Series Beamer, with a splash of Alpina. Name a fatter nigga cleaner. Got a bitch at Howard named Medina. Got a bitch at Howard named. Come on, man.
Show. Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode. I got them calling me Russell. That boy that out of control. That nigga lip, zip. Yeah, that boy that like a hoe. I guess I'm back in my bowl. Look like I'm back on that stove. You know, for sure. Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode. I got them calling me Russell. That boy that out of control. That nigga lip, zip. Yeah, that boy that like a hoe. I guess I'm back in my bowl. Look like I'm back on that stove.
You know I'm back in that mode. This shit like crack on the stove. Pass up the dope to Magnolia, he cook it up. That's why they back in the shows. Said she wanna link up with me. I put her ass on the bowl. You know I'm strapped with that pole. I put that pap to your nose. Go hard in the paint and I smash on these pussies. I'm feeling like Shaq in the post. I'm gon' keep it cool, I'm go hard in these pussies until I get tagged in the post. I did my research, he ain't got no credentials, but homie be bragging the most. Watch me just mantle the goat. I have your ass on the ropes.
You know, for sure. Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode. I got them calling me Russell. That boy that out of control. That nigga lip, zip. Yeah, that boy that like a hoe. I guess I'm back in my bowl. Look like I'm back on that stove. You know, for sure. Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode. I got them calling me Russell. That boy that out of control. That nigga lip, zip. Yeah, that boy that like a hoe. I guess I'm back in my bowl. Look like I'm back on that stove. You know,
I don't really like that. You better ask, bitch, I'm a cheat code. I let niggas have their time, but I want it back. Bitch, it's a repo. They hating it, fuck. This now my roommate. Stay with me. I feel like I'm Russell. These boys the rent, they don't wanna play with me. Back in that mode, no more of the brakes, I'm back on the gas. I'm talking my back pot. What the fuck is you saying? I'm back on their ass. I'm live from the kitchen. I'm back in my bowl, they missing my whip. Hey, wait, let me fix it. I noticed that dope, but then let me zip it. Yeah, young nigga ready. I'm a little nigga, bitch, but I'm heavy. Off the muscle, I come in here flex. Bitch, I'm mean, ain't shit and arrest. You know what going on, ain't no guessing. Who the fuck said I was gone? Whoever said it was wrong? 2, 3, I'm back in my zone.
You know, for sure. Yes, sir, I'm back in that mode.